All right, today we are going to talk about rotating tires on a car or a small SUV. We're going to be doing it on my wife's 2019 Hyundai Tucson, but this process is basically the same for most cars or small SUVs that have a unibody construction. We're going to talk about how to lift it up safely, what the process is going to be, and what tools you're going to need. This is really a pretty simple process, and it's something that's important to do to make sure that your tires are going to wear evenly over the course of them being on your car. As far as how often you do it, there's some debate on that. Some say as often as 5,000 miles. I'm more like once or twice a year. I do it when I can. If I have time and I'm working on something else, I'll just do it at the same time. Some is better than none is the way I look at it. With a car tire, I feel like it's less important than a big truck tire that is going to wear a lot more unevenly. But it definitely extends your tires' life because it changes which tires are in which position, which direction they're spinning, and it just helps keep them from wearing in one spot, particularly if you have a suspension issue that's going to cause that to happen sooner. All right, so first things first, let's talk safety here. We're lifting a car off the ground that weighs many thousands of pounds, and that's no joke. There are going to be different ways to do this. Some people are just going to lift it up with a floor jack, do what they need to do. Other people are going to insist you need a jack stand at each corner. There's a lot of different ways. You could jack up this whole car, do 4 jack stands, do all your moves at once, set it back down. I tend to lean somewhere in the middle. I trust my jack, but only so far. If I'm going under the car, I don't trust it for a second. If I'm next to it working like we're going to be today, I have a little bit of trust. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called a safe jack. A safe jack essentially is a jack stand that allows you to just put it over your jack. And so this is just, I'm missing a leg here, but you could take these legs off. You put this on top of your jack, lift it up, put the legs in, extend them to the right length, and then you can set weight on it, and it will safely hold the car. I really like these things. I feel like these are almost mandatory when working on a car with a unibody, because there usually are 4 points where you can put a jack, but there's not enough room to put a jack stand next to them. And so you're either putting it in a spot that is not recommended by the manufacturer, or you're compromising and you're not using a jack stand at all. I highly recommend these. There's some other solutions out there as well, but this is what we're going to use today. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this under the manufacturer's jack stand, jack location, and I'll show you kind of how that works here. All right, so most cars, there's going to be spots that the jack is intended to go. If you don't know where it is in your car, look in your owner's manual. Here you can see there's kind of an open box under here. That's where it goes. If you look on the back, it's the same deal. There's this open box with this little pinched weld here with 2 little openings. That's where it goes. But that's not big enough for a jack and a stand. So with this, it gives us the opportunity to jack it up with the jack stand essentially already there. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this to a point that both the front and the rear wheels are off the ground. Now I should also note that I've engaged the emergency brake to keep this thing from rolling at all. Well, it would help if I tightened my jack. All right. That's why you can never fully trust a jack. Operator error, jack could fail. A number of reasons. All right, car is safely in the air on this side only. What we're going to do is swap the front wheel and the back wheel. A couple different ways we can do this. The easiest, I think, is with an impact wrench. This is a DeWalt 1/2 inch high torque impact, and I've got the correct size socket on, and this particular one has like an anti-scratch coating on it. You could also just use a ratchet or a breaker bar with a socket on it. On this car, it is a 21 millimeter socket. You can also use a torque wrench to tighten these, which would be the correct way to do it. No one professionally really does that. So while I think that that is probably the best way to do it, it's not how I do it. I just try to apply the lug nuts equally and tight enough, but not a crazy amount. You can definitely strip them out. You can definitely break wheel studs. You can cause all kinds of issues if you over tighten with these things. For the longest time I did it with a torque wrench, but I'm just at a point where I don't anymore. Personal preference. If you're not going to use some sort of torque wrench, take them off. Before you jack the car up, you probably need to use a ratchet to loosen the lug nut and then tighten it again. Just break it free and then just snug it up. Not as tight as it was, just a little bit snug. It's plenty to hold the car up if you just do one at a time like that. Loosen it and then snug it, loosen it and then snug it. Then when you jack it up, you can still get it off. If you are using an impact like this, you do not need to do that. It will break it free, no problem, without spinning the wheel. Without further ado, let's get to this. Okay, so we're gonna do this in a star pattern. We don't wanna go in a circle because it can bend the wheel or the brake rotor behind it if the torque is applied unevenly. So for example, I would start here, I go diagonally in a star pattern to the next furthest one away until they're all off. Okay, now before we put this tire back on, we're just going to take a look in here. Things like the thickness of the brake pads, which I recently replaced those in the rotor, so I know those are good. Any sort of wear item, so like bushings, the ball joints on the tie rods, rubber. I'm just looking for anything out of place. Everything looks good. I've been in here pretty recently, so I'm not too worried about it. It is interesting, and this is why we're doing this, the amount of tread left on the back tire here is significantly more than the front. And so, you know, hopefully by swapping this, we'll get some more life out of these tires, because if I kept them where they were, that front tire was not going to last nearly as long as this one will. So that should help extend the life a little bit. It's probably been about a year since I've done this, if we're going to be honest. When I put these on initially, I just get them snug. I want to make sure the wheel is fully against the brake rotor before I tighten these, and then I'm going to go back to that star pattern. After I do that, I'm just going to double check each one and make sure that they're all snug. Make sure I didn't forget one. All right, we're good to go. So now we're going to lower this and we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. All right, that's steps 1 and 2. Both sides, the rear tire is now on the front. Now we're going to take the car, we're going to turn it around and back it into the garage, and I'll show you how we swap the backs. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I have a hitch installed on this car. And so I'm going to take the jack, I'm going to lift the back up by the hitch, and then I should put a jack stand under each side. Because I'm not going anywhere near this underneath it, I'm just going to quickly swap the two and put them back while just being balanced on that jack. If you do not have a hitch to jack from, many cars do not have a spot on the back to lift up from. You'd have to check in your owner's manual. There might be a spot underneath in between the rear wheels or underneath near the bumper, but you have to check. If not, what you would do is you would come to each side on the back on those pinch welds and you would raise the car and put a jack stand under each one, and then you would swap the back two tires. If that is the case with your car, it may be easier to just put the whole car on jack stands to begin with and just do all these moves at once. That is just something that depends on the vehicle. What I'm going to do is not the safest way. It's just how I do it. So I'm going to put the jack under the hitch, raise it up, and then I'm going to swap these two tires. I'm going to do it quickly and carefully, and I'm not going to go under the vehicle. This is not the best way. Like I said, not the safest way. It's just how I do it. I'm not saying it's how you should do it. I'm just showing you an option. So we're going to jack up the back and I'll show you what's next. All right, so the right thing to do at this time would be to come put a jack stand on the pinch weld in front of this rear tire. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to very quickly swap tires from one side to the other. So the rear right is going to the rear left and vice versa. I am going to stay clear of this thing in case it were to fall. This is a risk I'm taking. I would not sit down and get relaxed or put a body part under the vehicle. This is just how I'm doing it. All right, we did it. So the tires are all rotated. This should give us a little more time on these tires. It's clear that the front tires are wearing faster than the backs. And so by swapping them, now we've given the ones that have more tread a chance on the front to get worn down before the ones that were on the front completely wear out. So that'll probably buy us some extra time. And it's something I should be doing more often, but you know, you get to it when you get to it. And it's still faster for me to do this in my garage than it is for me to take it somewhere and sit around and wait. So do the best we can. I'm going to take us for a test drive, make sure everything feels okay. But otherwise, we are good to go. So I appreciate you watching this video. If this was helpful to you, if you could like and subscribe to my channel, it would be hugely helpful. I try to make as many videos as I can on how-to stuff on cars around the house. And then I'm also restoring a 1971 Holiday Rambler travel trailer. So try to keep some interesting content going. I'd really appreciate it if you would follow my channel. And if you saw something that you would do differently, or maybe a tip or a trick, or if you just want to yell at me for not using jack stands all the time, drop a comment below. All of that's much appreciated. I appreciate your time watching the video and engaging. So hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one.